August 3rd, 2006, Panjwai District, Afghanistan. The sun's cooking at 63 degrees Celsius. Bullets are snapping off like firecrackers, and a small band of Canadian soldiers are trapped in a flimsy latrine compound, staring down hundreds of Taliban fighters. The radio is screaming,
"If you don't get us out of here, we're done."
This is the Battle of the White School, one of the fiercest firefights in Canada's modern history. And leading the charge to save his platoon, Sergeant Patrick Marco Tower, of the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. Hi, and welcome to Real Canadian Heroes, the series where we dive into the grits, guts, and glory of the finest Canadians who ever answer the call to serve. I'm your host, Mario Gaudet, former Army reservist and somebody who spent their entire childhood on Canadian Armed Forces bases, surrounded by the drumbeat of military life. Today we're honoring a soldier who redefined the modern meaning of courage under fire. His actions earned him the Star of Military Valor, the second highest battlefield honor in Canada next to the Victoria Cross. In this episode, we'll trace Patrick Tower's journey from an Alberta kid to a battle-tested leader through the chaos of that deadly dawn and into the heavy legacy of heroism. So, get comfortable, hit that like button to help the algorithm, subscribe if you want more stories of real Canadian heroes, and let's roll into this, the unbreakable spirit of Sergeant Patrick Tower. Patrick Tower's story starts far from the Afghan desert and the wide open prairies of Alberta. Growing up in the late 70s and 80s, he was shaped by the same kind of military community that I knew as a kid. Think CFB Cold Lake or Edmonton, where base life means discipline, camaraderie, and a sense of something bigger. Details on Pat's early years are scarce. He's a private guy, he's not one for the spotlight, but we know he was drawn to the service young, being the third consecutive generation of his family to serve. By his 20s, Tower joined the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, or the PPCLI, a regiment with a legacy from Vimy Ridge to Bosnia. I remember my reserve days training with guys like Patrick. They were steady, no nonsense, and the kind you'd trust with your life. Tower quickly rose to sergeant through sheer grit, drilling at bases like Wainwright. And by all accounts, he wasn't flashy, just rock solid. His best mate was Sergeant Vaughn Iggy Ingram, a Newfoundlander with a laugh like a foghorn. He was the yin to his yang, and they bonded quickly. Those bonds, forged in barracks and bars, would be tested in the crucible of war. When 9/11 hit, I was still in school, but I felt the shift nonetheless. The whole world tilted towards conflict. Where I was in an elementary school classroom, Patrick Tower, already a seasoned non-com, was in Wainwright on course when the towers fell. That day set him on a path to Afghanistan, where Canada's next mission was about to get very real. Tower's 24-year total career was a masterclass in service. By 2006, Canada was deep in Afghanistan, not peacekeeping, but involved in full-on counterinsurgency. I remember the news back then. Kandahar was lawless, IEDs on every road, Taliban hiding in plain sight. Patrick Tower deployed with one PPCLI's Charlie Company for a 7-month tour, part of Operation Medusa, to clear the Taliban stronghold in the Panjwai district. This was no cakewalk. Orchards and villages. It was a maze of ambushes. Charlie Company built schools, patrolled under moonlight, dodged bombs. One school was called the White School. It was meant to win hearts and minds, built by US engineers, but it became a Taliban hive, a fortress for fighters smuggling in from Pakistan. Tower, a section leader, trained his guys to be ready for anything. Teamwork, not heroics, was his mantra. We were hot and we were tired, he'd say, but the mission and his men came first. August 2006. They were 2 weeks from heading home. Charlie Company got orders to take the White School. Intel said there were at least a dozen Taliban holed up in there. The real threat, they thought, that was IEDs. In reality, they got a nightmare ambush, an intense battle that would test Tower and his section like nothing ever before. Dawn, August 3rd, 2006, 0413 hours. Charlie Company convoy, 8 LAV 3s, rolling towards the White School. And I've been in vehicles like those. You feel every bump and every bead of sweat. And then, boom, an IED tears through the lead LAV. Corporal Chris Reed is killed instantly. Warrant Officer Sean Peterson is concussed. There's dust everywhere. Medics are scrambling. Orders come. Dismount. Advance on foot. Tower's platoon of 14 men moves 400 meters through a dry creek bed. The heat is already a crushing 63 Celsius by noon. Their full fighting order weighs about 70 pounds, and the helmets become microwaves. I mean, you couldn't blame guys when they drop from heat stroke before the shooting starts. But suddenly, all hell breaks loose. There were not a dozen Taliban there. There were hundreds. AK-47s from the school, RPGs from compounds, tree lines. I mean, the platoon was pinned, and they began splitting into a desperate stand. Tower's 20 meters back, helping a heat-struck soldier when the ambush hits. A Taliban fighter pops up in his ditch, point blank. Pat chucks 3 grenades. The first 2 of them are duds. Bad ammo, a soldier's curse. But the third one, bang on, threat down. Up ahead, 14 of his guys are trapped in 2 outhouses at the school's edge. RPGs slam the walls, bullets chew the dirt. The radio is frantic.
We're all gonna die.
4 are already gone. Corporal Bryce Keller, the machine gunner, has been shot dead. Private Kevin Dallaire, gut shot, fading. And Vaughn Iggy Ingram, Sergeant Tower's best friend, is gut shot, his leg mangled, eyes empty. Reading through scripts like this, I mean, first time I read it, my heart sank when I was doing the research. Losing best friend in and of itself is tough, really tough. Losing them in that manner and witnessing it all and being there for it, I can only imagine, but I think it's right that we do try and imagine it. It's a wound that never truly heals. Tower doesn't freeze. He grabs the medic and a rifleman, and he bolts 150 meters across open ground. Bullets zip past, RPGs explode 20 meters away. I just kept wishing my legs would go faster, he would later say. With 70 pounds of gear, lungs burning, I mean, that's the kind of run you train for, but never like this. They hit the compound, diving into blood and smoke. Inside, it's carnage. Ingram's gone, Pat's brother in arms. The acting commander is KIA. Tower takes charge. Calm, like he's done it 1,000 times. 5 guys are left standing out of 14. He sets up a defense, machine guns on arcs, medics on the wounded. Private Eric Curtis Keltier has his arm shredded, leg tourniqueted, still firing his gun. Tower called him a real hero. Across the field, Sergeant Willie McDonald is in his own fight. RPGs blast him back, dust blinds him, and he pushes forward until Captain John Hamilton radios to hold. So Tower and McDonald sync up. Grenades out, fire returned, holding the line until the lavs roar in for extraction. They load the wounded. They carry the fallen, Ingram's body over his shoulder, and they escape the storm of lead. 4 dead and 6 wounded, but the White School is taken. This breaks the Taliban hold on the Panjwai district and sets up Operation Medusa's win. Patrick Towers' citation says it best. His courage and selfless devotion to duty contributed directly to the survival of his remaining platoon members. That's a real Canadian hero. On October 25th, 2006, in Rideau Hall, Ottawa, Governor General Michael Jean pins the Star of Military Valor on Patrick Tower, the first Canadian ever to receive it. Sergeant MacDonald gets his too. The cameras flash, the headlines scream hero, but the weight of that medal sat heavy. 3 weeks after the battle, Patrick found himself in West Edmonton Mall of all places, and he runs into Vaughn's brother, Stacy. Iggy had left Pat $2,000 in his will for a party. He also said that if Pat's dead, give it to the warrant officer. They threw that bash in an Edmonton pub, toasting Iggy with laughter and tears, his portrait on the table. Tower kept serving and was promoted to warrant officer. More deployments, more training. But the war hero label, it grated him. It's hard to live up to what everyone thinks, he said in 2011. Losing Iggy, that also haunted him. That same year, 2011, after 24 years, Tower retired. He got married, earned an MBA, and became a speaker on leadership. He says, "I saw how life can end just like that, so I want to lead the best life I can." By the way, MacDonald's a dad now, following that same ethos. The bond that him and Tower made that day lasts forever. Maybe we'll do a video on MacDonald too. Patrick Tower, a kid from Alberta who became a giant in the heat of battle. He's not just a soldier. He's proof heroism isn't about capes or headlines, it's about running into the fire when everyone else is running out. Growing up on bases, I've heard stories like his, but Pat lived it. That's what makes him the real Canadian hero. His story, like so many in our forces, remind us that heroes walk among us, quiet but unbreakable. What does heroism mean to you? Drop it in the comments below. If Pat's story hits home, subscribe for more stories about real Canadian heroes, and make sure to share so we can honor our fighters and fallen. For Vaughn and all the others we've lost, lest we forget. Until next time, have a good one, eh?